So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Kurt.
Hi, everybody. Hey, appreciate your time today. So we're going to go through and talk about light commercial solutions. So,
Kurt, you're a little bit hot.
Oh, how's that?
A little better.
All right. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
Okay, so let's talk about the light commercial solutions here. So just to give you a little background, like I said, I'm the regional sales manager for Atlona, covering the entire country right now, but for just the residential side of things. So, okay, so first of all, just a little bit. I know some of you are new to Atlona, so just to kind of give you just an overview. Atlona's been around for a long time. I think 17 years total now. We're based in the Bay Area, got about 100 employees worldwide. So, but our headquarters is in the Silicon Valley. We're right in the heart of the Silicon Valley. So our global headquarters is there, our R&D center is there, our product development people are there, and our tech support people are there. So no offshoring, strictly everything is local in San Jose. We do also have a headquarters over in Switzerland to handle the European market. And then all of our product is manufactured in one of three places, either Taiwan, Israel, or over in Western Europe. That's important these days, especially because you can assure your dealers that they're not going to have to worry about any price increases due to tariffs or anything else that I'm sure you're all sick about hearing about by now. So you might be saying, you're the residential guy, why in the heck are you talking to me about commercial solutions? So, well, first of all, huddle spaces, small office applications, sports bars, all of that in the Atlona world are considered residential applications. We do have a commercial division, but the commercial guys are off chasing the large enterprise, corporate, hospitals, universities, that type of business. So again, anything huddle space, small office, or sports bar related, we consider to be in the residential world. Also, more and more residential dealers are doing, or at least want to do, some light commercial business these days. Reasons being, first of all, it's the fastest growing category in audio video distribution right now. So thanks to, like I said, again, boardrooms, huddle spaces, conference rooms, that part of it's been absolutely huge. Secondly, commercial tends to be a little bit more recession-proof than residential, and I know everybody's getting a little jittery now about the economic situation, so a lot of dealers are trying to diversify their business a little bit, or, like I say, recession-proof it by getting into the light commercial or the commercial world. And then lastly, Atlona is positioned better than any other manufacturer right now to help dealers transition or get into or even expand their light commercial business at this point. Okay, so the first product we'll talk about, and some of you are probably familiar with a lot of the Atlona products, but the first thing, our go-to piece, what really kind of broke into this light commercial category, is the HDVS series of products. So it's our basic point-to-point solution for a boardroom, conference room, etc. So we've got a full line of products in the HDVS line, and we're going to talk about several of these going forward here. So the first one is the AT-HDVS 150 kit. This is our bread and butter piece, kind of what started it all. But it's first, the easiest way to think of this product is, first and foremost, it's an extender pair. So you're all familiar with HT-BASE-T extender pairs. This is an extender pair. But we just so happens that we add on the transmitting side an auto switcher. So you see I've got two HDMI inputs here and a VGA input. And we've got an audio embedder built into it as well. So you've got just a little input here in case you're using that VGA. You need to get audio, it will handle it. It's also auto switching, so automatically it's going to switch to whatever the latest hot video source is that's plugged into the unit. And then on the receiving end, again, think of it first and foremost as an HT-BASE-T receiver, but we happen to have a scaler built into it. So that way, you're going to get, no matter what the resolution is set out on my computer or whatever source, when I plug into here, it's always going to scale to whatever the display it's hooked up to wants to see. No stretching, no squashing. It's always going to look accurate, going to look like it's supposed to look. Now on the receiving end, we also have an audio de-embedder built in, or an analog audio pull-off, I should say, just in case you want to run to a separate amplifier, where we happen to be showing our little amplifier here, and into a set of speakers. Okay. And then lastly, in this extender pair, we have built something that we built in something that we call automatic display control. So essentially what this piece will do is your dealer can actually go into the IP address of this HDVS 150 and set it so that it will automatically send an on command to turn the display on as soon as it detects any input on the transmitting side. Okay, so again, no third-party controlled what's needed whatsoever. It's simple drag and drop, drag the command in, and we can turn that display on. Conversely, I can program it to turn the display, send an off command to this display automatically as well once it doesn't detect that video image anymore. And your dealer can go in and set that delay to whatever they want it to be. So, so that is like I said, the HDVS 150. In a nutshell. I do have the display on off buttons on the face of the unit as well. So, and the beautiful thing about this is that it's $750 MSRP for the kit. So again, a perfect solution with a lot of these. If you've got a dealer and they have a customer who comes to them and says, look, I've got 15 huddle spaces in our home office, and each one of these huddle spaces I want to have just a quick, easy presentation system. Boom, here you go, $750 per space retail, and they can have that set up and no control needed, no third-party control needed. Okay, then there is a wall plate version of the transmitter as well, the HDVS 150TX WP. So as you can see from the diagram here, the VGA input is there, the HDMI input is there, the audio embed, the audio in is there as well. The other thing, on the wall plate version, I do lose one of the HDMI inputs. Separately, that one, the MSRP on that one would be $450 for your dealer. And you can also buy the receiver outside of the kit for use with the wall plate adapter, and MSRP on that's $500. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to point out on all of our HDVS product like this, on a extender pair, these are all PoE units, power over Ethernet. So you only need to power one side of it. However, one thing to bear in mind and make sure your dealers are aware of is that with a normal extender pair, you are usually, almost always, powering the transmitting side and then sending power over that category cable to power the receiving side. With the HDVS product, it's exactly the opposite. So with this product, as you can see down here, the receiver actually has the power supply and it is sending power over the category cable to the transmitter. Okay. The reason for this is twofold. First of all, if you're using the wall plate, for instance, you don't want to have to worry about any coding restrictions or whatsoever for power supply or getting power to it. And secondly, in a lot of applications, the transmitter is going to be located, even if it's the box version, at a conference table, under a conference table, et cetera, where you may have limited access to power. So again, just something to bear in mind with all of the HDVS products. And then going from there, from the HDVS 150, we do have a step-up product called the HDVS 200. This one is not sold in the kit. This one comes separately. So the HDVS 200, again, exactly the same thing as the 150 that we just talked about, but we've added a couple of things to it. So you'll notice that on the front panel of the transmitter, I've got a volume control button there. So now, in addition to being with that automatic display control feature, in addition to be able, addition to it being able to turn the display on and off, it's also going to be able to turn the volume up and down on any flat panel that's up against that wall as well. Another option is you notice that you have the audio pull off here on the receiver to run to outboard speakers, amplifier, etc. This volume control can be configured to attenuate the volume coming out of that audio output on the 200 RX as well. Okay. In addition, on this piece, on the Step Up 200, I put a trigger on here so that I can actually, for instance, if I'm using a projector in that conference room, I can set this up again using the automatic display control so that as soon as it detects an input over here, either HDMI or VGA, it's automatically going to send a command to drop the screen and turn the projector on. And again, conversely, as soon as the presentation is done, as soon as the presenter is done, I should say, your dealer can configure this, so tell it to wait 20 seconds, what have you, and then pull the screen back up and power the projector off. And it does provide for cool down allowances for projectors as well. So again, MSRP on this, $700 on the 200 receiver, $600 on the 200 transmitter, and then there is a wall plate version of this one as well. And you'll notice that it does have the volume control buttons. Again, you lose one of the HDMI inputs when going with the wall plate. Okay. So here's just an example of the setup for the HDVS 200. So notice that I've got my laptop plugged into the HDMI here. I've got a VGA PC plugged in here. And I've got the audio output from that PC going into the audio in, so I can embed that audio. I'm going over to the receiver. In this particular case, I'm using the analog audio outputs going into a little amplifier, into a couple of speakers. And in this case, I got the projector, I got the electric screen plugged into the trigger. So pretty simple, pretty basic, pretty easy. Again, just a very simple way for you to be able to help your dealers get into this light commercial world. Then we've expanded the line recently to include a couple of others. We've got the HDVS 210H, H for HDMI, that being a wall plate with two HDMI inputs. And then the HDVS 210U wall plate, which is an HDMI and a USB-C input. So these pieces, same thing applies, auto switching, auto sensing, so it's going to switch to whatever input is hot here. It will default, if it detects two hot sources, it's going to default to the last hot signal that was powered on. Okay. Available in both white or black, and again, MSRP you can see here, $630 for the dual HDMI, $690 for the HDMI USB-C. And then the granddaddy in the HDVS category, the HDVS 300. So the HDVS 300, again, think of it as an extender pair, just like the other two that we talked about, but now I'm adding a USB hub to the mix. On both the transmitting and the receiving side. So the application for that, of course, is that first and foremost, I can get USB information back and forth. So if I've got a camera, for instance, for teleconferencing, I can plug that into the USB port that's on the back of the receiver that's at the display side. I can also plug a host computer into the USB host port on the transmitting side, so that then I've automatically and simply and easily incorporated a soft codec system. So GoToMeeting.com or Skype or anything like that. Now I've automatically got a full-on teleconferencing system with the camera, with the Skype or whatever I want to use, and then I can also plug in a USB microphone to the mix if I want. It's been a very good seller. It's available in just the HDVS 300 kit, which would include the transmitter and the receiver, or we sell it as the HDVS 300-C kit, C for camera. So MSRP's $1,900 on the kit, and adding the camera is an extra $900. We do have available both a white and a black camera, but the kit is packaged strictly with the black camera. Okay. Now we're going to talk about a series of products, the Atlona SW series. So some of this product has been out for a little while. But this is the granddaddy. This is the one that we talked about. This is, if you want to get a client's attention, this is the piece to really get their attention with. So the AT UHD SW510W. What makes this piece unique is it does have all the normal ins and outs. So we've, again, it's updated. It's got a USB-C input, DisplayPort input, a couple of HDMI inputs. It's got mirrored HDMI and HDBaseT outputs, has the trigger and the relay functionality. But what makes this really unique is built into this piece is wireless or bring your own device capability. So this piece can either be wired into an existing network using the LAN port on the back, or this will actually generate its own Wi-Fi hotspot. So it is a standalone piece. It doesn't have to be tied in to an existing network. So it works with any format as far as wireless goes, AirPlay, Miracast, Google Cast, Chromecast, any of those. And the beauty of this is there's no third-party app required. So I can walk into a room and immediately start sharing off of my phone, my iPad, what have you, directly to this piece. So we've also got some other convenience features built into it. So we've got auto input. We talked about the auto switching for auto input. That's all built in here. The automatic display control that we talked about is built in here as well. So it can turn on a display automatically, turn off a display automatically. And again, I've got access to volume control here. Okay. And then we talked about the contact closure and the trigger. So basically with this, I can actually hook this piece up to a room sensor as well, so that it can automatically detect when somebody enters a room and fire up the display. Okay. Now to take it one step further, this piece will actually generate, it has its own internally generated splash screen as well. So that, again, the experience would be, I walk into the room sensor picks me up, automatically turns the display on, splash screen automatically pops up on that display. I can customize it any way I want, put a customer's logo on that, change the backgrounds, etc., change the text messaging. But an example would be I walk into the room, turns on the display, the splash screen comes up, says, welcome to conference room number 3. Would you like to connect? Here's your SSID, and here is your password. And again, all of that can be customized by your dealers for their customers as well. So it's a beautiful piece. Like I said, this has been an awesome piece. One little plus also is that we do have the USB-C input here. USB-C input also supports charging of the device. Okay. This is a full 4K solution as well, 60 hertz, HDCP 2.2 compliant. So all the latest and greatest built into it. And the biggest part, here's your MSRP, less than $2,000 for a wireless solution for a conference room. And it is so simple to set up that your dealer will literally be able to go online, take one of our training courses, or even go to one of our YouTube videos explaining how to set this up and be able to configure it and set it up in 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, so again, here's just a sample, a scenario of how it would be hooked up, the SW510W. So I've got the 510W here. I'm using a extender receiver here to go to a display. I could also have the HDMI running out to a confidence monitor if I wanted, or any other monitor, local monitor. But one thing to note here is that with this piece, it does not support power over Ethernet. So if you are using the HDBaseT output, you're going to have to use a receiver that has a power supply, such as our UHD EX100 CE RX PSE. That is a mouthful, but so we do sell a piece that that would enable you to do that. Again, you can see here, bring your own device. It doesn't matter if it's an Apple device. It doesn't matter if it's a Windows computer. You'll be able to broadcast wirelessly to this piece automatically. Okay, a couple of other pieces that are in the SW line. we've got the AT-UHD SW51. So 5 HDMI inputs, 1 HDMI output. And then the not pictured is the UHD SW52. Same thing, but with 2 mirrored HDMI outputs and a balanced audio output rather than RCA level output or line level outputs. Then there's the UHD SW52 ED. I forgot to mention that all of the inputs, auto sensing, auto switching applies on all of these pieces as well. And on any piece with the HD base T out, such as the SW52 ED with mirrored HDMI and HD base T outputs, it's going to have the automatic display control functionality built into it as well. So again, as soon as a different source is detected here, a new video live source, it's going to switch to that source. And again, this can be configured to automatically turn the display on for your customer. And then the SW5000 ED, and ED is for extended distance, by the way, just tells you that there's an HD base T output on it. Same with the 52 ED. So that piece just takes away 2 of the HDMI inputs and substitutes 2 HD base T inputs. So the flexibility there with the HDVS product, one of the HDVS 210s, for instance, or something like that, it just gives you endless possibilities as far as how to configure a conference room, a boardroom, an office, etc. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the Omega series. So the HDVS and the SW product have been out for quite a while. Going forward, all of the new Atlona light commercial products will be tagged under the Omega banner, just trying to make it a little easier for dealers to know what category a product belongs to. For instance, if you're talking to a dealer about Omega, you'll know that it is more than likely a light commercial conference room type solution. So all of the model numbers then with this model or with this product line would start with AT-OME. Now with the Omega series, like I said, the main gist here was to update some of the older products to accommodate different formats, different types of cabling, different types of delivery formats. So most of this product will support USB-C, HDMI, DisplayPort. Many of them will support USB hub functionality as well, so that you can interface with, again, soft codec systems, Skype, Zoom, GoToMeeting, or any of those, and everything is going to be 4K ready going forward. Okay, so this just kind of gives you a little bit of an indication of what is available in the Omega line, and we'll talk about some of these pieces in detail here. So the Omega SW62 or OME-SW62 is a matrix switcher that's got various and assorted inputs. Some of you might be familiar with a line of product that we have called the CLSO line of product. CLSO stands for Classroom Small Office. So that's basically what this product would be for, but it also is great for presentation rooms, house of worship, things like that. So the OME SW62 is a switcher, is a matrix switcher, but you'll see that I've got 6 various and assorted inputs, a USB, 3 HDMI, a couple of HD base T, and then I have the mirrored HDMI and HD base T outputs. Now, what makes these different than the current CLSO line is that those outputs, the HD base T and the HDMI, they can be matrix now as well. So previously, those were tied together all the time. Now, your dealer has the choice to configure this so that those are mirrored video outputs or matrixed video outputs. And the biggest difference between this and the CLSO product is right here. We've added the USB hub and extension. So, excuse me. So if you put this together with one of our receivers with USB functionality, it's going to give you that functionality. You can have a video camera. If you look down at the lower right at the sample configuration or the sample system drawing there, you can see that we've got a HDVS camera plugged into the receiver, which is the OME SR21 that we'll talk about. So I've got that plugged into the USB port. I've got the audio out going into a little amplifier from that piece. And I've got, of course, the video going out to a display on that piece. Okay. Also, you'll notice that this has a microphone input. So, and it has mic ducking built into it. So mic ducking, for any of you that might not be familiar, basically is just being able to lower the volume from the microphone input when, or from any background music, I should say, when there is any input from the microphone. So as an example, somebody is using this in a presentation, big boardroom, they have something plugged into the HDMI input with some background music on it. Somebody walks up to the podium, starts speaking into the microphone. This will automatically take the volume of that background music down or turn it off completely, depending on how your dealer configures it. And then as soon as that person is finished talking into that microphone, it will take the volume on that background music back up. Again, it'll support any type of microphone, including phantom power mics. Okay. All right. Well, this is a relatively new piece. This is the Omega SW42. As a matter of fact, it's so new it hasn't shipped yet. But basically, this piece will be the replacement for the HDVS 300 that we talked about earlier. As far as, like, so we're just kind of upgrading everything. We still have HDVS 300s available. This piece we probably will be shipping towards the middle of next month or the end of next month. Now, some of the differences between this and the HDVS 300 that we talked about is the new piece has been refreshed so that it supports HDMI 2.0. You do lose the VGA input in favor of that USB-C input. This does support HDCP at 2.2. I've got an audio output on this piece. I've got matrix capability on the output on this piece. Again, dual HDMI and HD-Base-T outputs, which are out of the box mirrored, but they can be configured for matrix capability as well, turning this into a little, basically 4x2 matrix switch. And the HDMI output on this actually has a scaler built into it. So an example application would be, I've got this hooked up, I'm running the HD-Base-T out in a large conference hall to a projector. That projector is 4K, but I'm running the HDMI out to, say, a 1080p monitor, a confidence monitor at the podium or something for the speaker. I can have that scaled down to 1080p coming out of that HDMI out, whereas this is going to be full on 4K coming out of the HD-Base-T out. Okay. Again, I've got the USB hub built in here. I use the 21 receiver that goes with this with the USB configuration, and it gives me a path for camera video coming back to this piece as well. USB host hub here, again, so that I can use a host computer, and anything that's on that host computer as far as a soft codec now becomes an integral part of the system. So GoToMeeting.com, whatever. Okay, now here's another neat little piece just introduced recently. This is the OME-SW32. So this is 3 inputs, HD base or 2 HDMI, 1 USB-C, and it's got mirrored HDMI outputs, 2 outputs, but those mirrored outputs can be reconfigured easily in the setup menu to be matrixed as well. Okay, so this piece supports full HDR format, all HDR formats, and it's got audio pullout functionality as well. So again, as you can see down here below, here's just a little sample input. You've got 2 separate laptops. I can be routing either one of those laptop signals to either or both of those displays on the wall. Okay, and then this is a neat little piece as well, the Omega ST31 and the ST31A. The ST31, the only difference between the 31 and the 31A are that on the 31A, you've got an audio pullout here. So again, it's a 3 input, 2 output switcher But what makes this different from the one we just talked about, the SW32, is that this has the HT-T extended distance output. Okay, so it has the same automatic display control built in. So again, for my customer, it can be set up so that as soon as somebody plugs into any one of these video inputs, it's automatically going to turn the display on, the display that's running off of this HT-T output. Now this HT-T and HDMI output, those are mirrored, and they're mirrored all the time. There's no option for matrixing on this particular piece. And then the Omega series, we've got a whole bunch of other pieces in the Omega. I'm just going to pick just a few of these that are really unique applications. Again, the gist of this is not, we understand that you're not going to immediately absorb this and know what every single one of our 182 SKUs does or what's available, but just to pick a couple of pieces that you can go to your dealers with and be their quote unquote expert on getting into the light commercial world. So this piece we just introduced, the Omega EX kit. So this is an extender kit, first and foremost, but I've added the USB hub functionality to it as well. So again, on the transmitting side, I can plug my laptop into it. I can plug a speakerphone into it. On the receiving side, behind the display, I can plug a camera into it. Or if I've got a smart TV, a touch TV, it can do two-way communication back and forth and actually interface and show that information to a monitor that's hooked up on the transmitting side as well. Fully HDCP 2.2 compliant. And again, on this piece, the Omega transmitter is powered by the receiving side. Okay, so just stress that over and over. We want to make sure that customers realize that it's, again, the power flow is opposite on this piece of what it is on a normal extender pair. Okay. This piece retails at just over $1,000. And then we talked about receivers. So we've got the Omega SR21. So this is first and foremost an HD-T receiver. Excuse me. I've got the audio de-embedding that we talked about before. I've got scaling built into this. So this can scale down or up from 4K. I've got the USB hub built into this particular piece, the Omega SR21. So this would be the perfect companion piece, for instance, for that Omega, the SW42 that we talked about, or MS42. So, excuse me. So that's this is a neat piece, again, a companion piece with some of the others. Then there's the Omega RX21. So this piece basically is exactly what we just talked about, but without the USB functionality. So this is a HT-T receiver, has the downscaling capability built into it, has audio de-embedding built into it, has 12-volt trigger if I need that. And again, the application would be to put this together with something like the ST31A. So this piece with projectors plugged into this piece, audio is plugged into this piece, a little in-ceiling amplifier, for example, with in-ceiling speakers for the boardroom. And on the transmitting side, I've got my host PC plugged in, laptops plugged in, and I do have an HD display directly coming off of, excuse me, directly coming off of the ST31 for that confidence monitor that we talked about. Okay. Now, just a couple of accessory type products that we do carry that not a lot of people are aware of, but it may give you an option if you don't have anything else for your customers. We want the customer to be able to one-stop shop. So if they want to do a complete Atlona system, we want to be able to allow them to do that. So we do sell, we've got an architectural cable access enclosure. AT, we call it the Pocket, Atlona Pocket, or PKT3H. So this is just a little piece to go on the table for wire management, etc. It has a little pouch underneath it to manage the wires, make it a little bit nicer presentation. We've got various and assorted cables. We've got HDMI to HDMI. We've got mini display port to HDMI cables in various lengths. And we have USB-C to USB-C cables available as well. Okay? And then we sell some of this in a kit. We call it the ATPKT3H kit. So basically that's going to come with the pocket for the cable management, and it's going to come with 3 2-meter cables, one of each of the ones shown below. So that way you get an HDMI, a display port, and a USB-C connection for your customer. And then the last thing in the light commercial realm that I want to talk about is velocity. So we introduced this, a control system, and I know what you're all thinking, we need another control system like we need a hole in the head. This is a little bit different application, however. This is not a residential solution. This is specifically a light commercial application. So the thing that makes velocity unique is it's very scalable. It's very, very easy to use. I have redundancy built into it, so I can easily and cost effectively actually duplicate the control system, so that in case one goes down, the other one can automatically come up. I've got, and the biggest part of it is that this thing is so easy, there is no special programming skills required. So for instance, you don't have to have a programmer for a specific control system that knows their specific code or programming code. Anybody can take velocity and instantly be up and running with it. So it consists of 3 things: the actual gateway, which is the management center or the heart. We do sell touch panels that go with it, both a 5.5-inch and an 8-inch size. And then we have what we call Velocity Cloud. So all of this can be centrally managed by your dealer for their customer. They can remotely go in, look at the system, monitor the health of the system, look at what's connected to the system, and even make minor changes to the system. Also going forward, we're hoping to add firmware update capability through this as well, but I don't have a timeline for you on that yet. So here's what we're talking about. The gateway that is the VGW250. Basically with that piece, that will control or serve up to 250 different IP devices. Okay. The BGW250 comes with 5 bring your own device licenses. So if your customer wants to just download the app, they can use their iPhone, their iPad, whatever, to control the system. We also do sell, again, a 5.5-inch or an 8-inch panel. So available in either black or white. And then the customer can buy as many additional bring your own device licenses as they want. The beauty of this is it's fully customizable. So again, talking about this, everything is basically drag and drop. So control drivers are already built into Velocity for almost anything that's out there. Again, you can go in, pick any display, pick any type of source. And all of that, all of the control drivers for that are all built into Velocity. So it's literally when you're going in and you're configuring this system, all you do is you go in and you tell it how many sources you have, how many displays you have, and then it's going to come up with a user interface that's easy to use. Zoom Room is getting more and more popular now. We can integrate Zoom Room functionality into this as well. So one advantage there is that the customer then does not have to have a separate interface device or touch panel for the Zoom Room functions and for the audio video distribution functions. We can overlay all of that on a single display for them. You can customize the display any way you want. You can see in the middle picture here that we've gone in and we've just made different icons for the buttons. I can change up the background. I can change the colors, whatever I want. And we've got dynamic video wall control built into Velocity as well. So if you're using our OmniStream product to build a video wall, all of that can be configured, set up, on Velocity very easily, very simply. And again, no special programming skills required. You can go in, take our velocity course at the Atlona Academy and be able to program this after just a couple of hours of training. Okay. So applications there, basically with velocity, I can control the audio and the video. I can control source components. I can integrate Zoom Room, or I can integrate any soft codec system that I want. Okay. Talk about video wall control. I won't get into that in depth other than to say it's a very simple, very easy way to configure a video wall using our OmniStream AV over IP products. And speaking of OmniStream, again, I won't go into a lot of detail on OmniStream, but just be aware that we do have an AV over IP solution available. We do offer commissioning services, help for the dealers actually setting up the OmniStream product, and it makes video walls very easy, simple to do. Right now, just a quick review of the basics. So again, we're talking about light commercial, but these products are equally residential as well. So just wanted to review. We do have a full line of extenders available for all of you. So this is our UHD series, just straight 4K extenders. All of those are still available. Just as a quick refresher, just to make your lives a little bit easier. Decoding the model numbers, everything starts with AT. UHD means that it is 4K. EX means that it's an extender product. 70 or 100 in the model number just tells you which HT base T chipset is in the extender pair. Okay. Now bear in mind that that 70 meter or 100 meter, the way that the standard was set was that just tells you that this will send a 1080p signal 70 meters over Cat6a cable. A 100 meter chipset will send that same signal 100 meters. Now again, one thing to be aware of here is that if you're sending a 4K signal over instead of the 1080p signal, that 70 meters then drops down to about 40 meters. Okay, so just be aware of that. The beauty of the 100 meter chipset is it doesn't matter. Over Cat6a cable, it's always going to give you 100 meters regardless of resolution, if it's 4K or if it's 1080p. So going back to my decode, 70 is means it's the 70 meter chipset on the first extender pair there, and then the -2 PS at the end just means 2 power supplies. So this is our basic budget entry level extender pair. Power required on both sides, audio and video transmission only. Then we step up to the EX70. Actually, there should be a dash kit after this model number. But that piece, audio and video only still, but we've added the power over Ethernet functionality. So you only need a power supply on the transmitting side. One unique thing to note about all the Atlona extender pairs is because of the power supply that we used, unlike on the 2PS, where you have a dedicated type of power supply input or interface here. This comes with a bare wire power supply with a clip that plugs into here. One nice feature of that, just to make sure your dealers are aware, they can power up to 4 of these 70 meter extender pairs off of one power supply. Simply run the power supply into the input on the first extender and then daisy chain over to the other extenders. Just cleans up the install, makes the rack look a little bit nicer. And again, you can do up to 4 pairs of the 70 meter or 3 pairs of the 100 meter extenders off of one power supply. Okay, so going back to our nomenclature again. So in this extender pair, the one in the middle there, you've got the UHD 4K, means it's 4K. EX means it's an extender product. 70 tells you it's the 70 meter chipset. And then C for control dash kit. So now this piece is sending audio and video and IR and RS-232 information over the same category cable. And then jumping up to the next model, the UHD-EX-100, so 100 meter chipset, C for control, E for Ethernet. So now this piece, in addition to having the 100 meter chipset and giving you a longer distance, is also going to support data transmission over that same category cable. So if they want to get access to the internet remotely to one of the TVs in another room, they can do that through this extender pair. And then lastly, you've got the UHD-EX100, C for control, E for Ethernet, A for audio. This is a very unique piece because HT-base-T does not include any spec for audio return channel. There's no way to get that information back over the category cable. Our solution for that was to add an optical audio input on the receiving side and an optical audio output on the transmitting side, so that now I can take that optical audio output from that display that's in a remote room, run it into this extender pair, and get that audio information back to my head end or back to the rack where all the product is. So that way the customer then can use all of Netflix and all those other apps that are built into that display as a source. And then our step up, we do have an HDR line of extenders as well. So again, as the model number implies, AT-HDR, into this 4K HDR, EX for extender product, 70 tells you the chipset, 2 PS in this case is 2 power supply. So again, audio video only, but with HDR. In the step up model, the HDR EX70C for control dash kit. So this piece is going to support IR and RS-232 control over the same category cable. This piece is also PoE, power over Ethernet, and same application here as far as the shared power supply. Then you step up to the HDR EX100, C for control, E for Ethernet, A for audio kit. So this has that audio return channel path for you along with the 100 meter chipset. And one thing that makes these extenders unique is that they have some error correction functionality built into them as well. So clock stretching errors that you have sometimes where older cable boxers or older sources that are outputting an older form of HDMI sometimes will not talk to HT-base-T devices because they're missing something called clock stretching. These extender pairs will add that in so you don't have to worry about that, or you don't have to add another piece to correct for those types of errors. Also, you notice that these have a little white dial, kind of hard to see. It's a small application here, but we've built some line testing functionality into the HDR extenders as well. So if I plug the laptop into this, I address it, I can actually go in here and I can switch this over to test mode, and it will actually give me a readout on my computer screen of am I seeing a 5-volt handshake? Am I are my source and my end plate or my display is HDCP compatible? It will actually do more than just tell me, hey, the line is, yeah, I've got continuity here. It will actually kind of break it down and tell me where I might have some issues with the line. So a lot of dealers, I've been able to sell this into dealers, they just keep it in their van as a testing tool as well. Okay. And then lastly, to wrap up, remember, every single Atlona product has a 10-year limited warranty on it. Again, is your customer going to use it for 10 years? More than likely not. But for your dealers, it's a great sales tool, because if they're bidding against the trunk slammer down the road that is just ordering some product off of the web that he found that's made in China, just a little knockoff product, they can at least go to their customer and say, like, yes, but I'm selling you Atlona. Atlona is confident in their product. It's a 10-year manufacturer's warranty. And then lastly, I want to talk about this. I know that a lot of you have already gone through our Atlona Academy, but I just want to put it out there again. Any of you can contact me or, excuse me, or anybody at atlona.com/training. They will get you access to our Atlona Academy portal. Basically, what this is we've set it up so that there are 5 different series of courses now. Some of you may have only done the first 2. We recently added the last 3. So it gives you simple, easy, broken up into little snippets, trainings that you can do on your own time. And we're giving CEDIA credits for completing these courses as well. So for any of you that are looking for CDA accreditation, we can help you out there as well. And lastly, once you get access to the training, you'll have access to our YouTube channel as well. All kinds of little snippets. For instance, if your dealer is out in the field but can't remember exactly how to do the line testing functionality on one of the extender pairs, they can just search the Atlona YouTube channel, find a little 5-minute video that will show them exactly how to do that. So we've got all kinds of resources for you in that respect. And that's it in a nutshell. I hope I didn't breeze over that too fast, but let's see. I don't know if I've got access, but any questions out there?
All right, Kurt. Yeah, I've got some questions here. So, in like the middle of the presentation, you went over the HDVS versus the new Omega 42. And one of the notable differences was that the HDVS has VGA for legacy devices, and the new device does not. It was replaced by an USB-C.
Correct.
Is the HDVS going to continue in the line for those who still have legacy devices that they need to connect?
Yeah, the HDVS I don't see going away anytime soon. So it's at least on our product roadmap as far out as I've seen, which is almost a year.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then we did a little bit of a deep dive on the collaboration bring your own device system.
Right. The
Okay.
SW510?
Yeah, that was one of the things we wanted to make sure we focused on today.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And oh, you also mentioned the in the extender just a moment ago, uh, the model that ends in 2PS. We've got two models. We got a UHD and an HDR extender that end in 2PS. So one of the things I wanted to make clear here, so we don't talk pricing because this is going to be published on YouTube, but those are by far the price leaders. So if you've got a price competitive bid, you're going up against some, Amazon garbage. Consider putting in the 2PS product and just plugging in the other side. The fact that it doesn't have PoE makes it a lot more price competitive. You just have to plug in the other side.
Correct.
What else do we want to talk about? So I think the other question that we had was on audio breakout.
Yeah.
So which pieces have audio breakout for the CLSO HDVS, basically like the collaborative?
Yeah, almost all of the collaborative products will have an audio breakout. So the SW510 will have audio breakout. All of the CLSO pieces will have audio breakout. The replacement, if you will, CLSO piece, the Omega 62 will have audio breakout. One thing I want to be you want to be careful of those. When we say that has audio breakout, you have to be careful because if you have that's actually an audio stripper that's on there. So if you have a multi-channel source, and that's a good question to bring up, if you have a multi-channel source that's 5.1 or 7.1, what you're going to get out of that audio breakout is just going to be stripped right and left off of that 5.1 or 7.1 soundtrack. So it's going to be pretty useless to you. So you want to make sure that most of the commercial applications anyway, you're going to have a 2-channel source, or you're going to set that source to a 2-channel output. Now, in the case where you don't have that, the capability to do that, for instance, Apple TVs, we do have an audio down mixer available, a separate piece called the HDR M2C that will actually take that 5.1 or that 7.1 soundtrack and actually mash it down to a true stereo mix that then I can send to a stereo amplifier and have useful audio information.
Okay, and then the other question that popped up, are these audio outputs, are they balanced or are they traditional, like resident or consumer
It,
line level RCA style?
it depends on the product itself. So on some of the SW product, for instance, it had just a standard RCA type output, and the step up model, for instance, might have a balanced audio output. So that's going to vary by model as to whether or not it has a balanced or just a standard output.
Okay, and let me see what else I've got here. Yeah, I think we've addressed all the questions that popped up.
Terrific. Terrific. And again, if anybody has any questions, like I said, you can talk to, everybody's got my contact info, or again, it's Kurt.McCandless, Kert dot McCandless at Atlona.com. Feel free to send me any questions, any issues, any problems, or even if you just have a question that says, hey, you breezed over that stuff really fast, Kurt. Do you have a piece that'll do this? And we can help you with that as well.
Sure, and all of us at each of the branches and also at Snap AV Corporate. So we're now the exclusive distributor for Atlona.
Right.
So we've got great relationships with Atlona. We've got like at least in our case here in the Midwest with AllNet, uh, we've got great contacts on the inside as sales engineers. So we don't like to walk anything. So if you got a really unusual application or you're going up against product A, product B, product C, let me know. We'll see if we can address it, and we'll loop in a sales engineer if we have to, and we'll um, if the application requires um, some special design or some special pricing consideration or whatever, we can figure it out and see if we can't solve it and win you that bid.
Absolutely.
Also, I wanted to touch on this. So most of the products that we discussed today, we booked this meeting to be a post-Infocom wrap-up, but here we are a week away from CEDIA. And I know you're active on the Resi side as well. Anything that you're able to talk about that we're going to see in Denver?
Well, at CEDIA, we'll have really on the Resi side, we're going to be really featuring our Opus switches prominently at the show. We'll have our video wall capability with the OmniStream AV over IP featured prominently there. And then several of the new Omega products, a few of which I talked about here, we'll be showing at CEDIA as well.
Okay. And yeah, I guess I should also follow up to say that if they have any interest in learning more about the Opus series of switchers, we did a deep dive with Ken Eagle. I want to say it's like maybe 5-6 weeks ago on the webinar series. So that's available on AllNet Distributing. I'm sorry, youtube.com/AllNet Distributing U. If you type in AllNet and then Atlona, it should be one of the first ones to pop up. And what Ken talked about was audio breakaway. So it's not only like a high level HDMI switching platform, but it's also a high level audio matrix kind of in the same box for, it's included in the cost. So there's no additional hardware. So pretty flexible platform. And every single time I do a webinar with Ken or with any of the staff from Atlona, it seems like I always pick up a couple things. So thank you for your time today, Kurt. And thank you everyone for joining us. We had another good session with Atlona. And again, so Kurt, everyone in my building anyway is now 200 certified. So if anyone's considering signing up for the Atlona Academy, it's a really robust training platform. It's worth your time. You learn a lot, not just specifically about the Atlona product, but it's a good deep dive on how HDMI works, how different audio formats work. There's a little touch on audio and on what's the networked audio solution that you support? It's Audinate. It's Audinate's platform.
I am not sure, to be honest with you. So
I'm drawing a huge blank. Anyway.
Are you talking about on the?
Dante. That's what it is. So yeah,
Dante,
there's a touch on Dante, and then I found that there's a free Dante training course as well through Audinate. So they host their own. So yeah, we did the 200 level, and then we also encouraged our staff to take the Dante trainings sessions as well. So we like to be well educated, and we like to share that education as well. That's why we do the webinar series.
Yeah, and just to add to it, so real quickly on the one thing that we did on the, I know that a lot of you took advantage of the program that Ken just came out with, where he was giving out an Amazon gift card to anybody that finished the 100 and 200 series courses. I'll go ahead and just make the offer that anybody who didn't get a chance to take advantage of that or didn't get a chance to finish it, if you'll go on and finish it, send myself a note or send Ken Eagle a note. We'll still honor that $100 Amazon gift card for anyone that finishes that course.
Well, just a reminder, on the call today, we've got not just AllNet and distribution staff, we've also got dealers on the call. Is that something that's available
Gotcha.
to dealers, or is that a distribution partner
Yeah,
only?
I'm sorry. That's a distributor partner only. So
Oh, sorry, friends. All right,
sorry about that.
no worries. But we do have, I've got like six of my peers on the call, so that'll be good news for them. So it always helps us
Great.
out when our vendors do nice things like spiff us for learning about product. That's always a good thing.
No problem. And then on the Opus, just one last reminder, we did just come out with a great program on the Opus switches right now as well. So that essentially when a dealer buys an Opus switch, they're going to get half of the receivers for free on that.
Yeah, we're promoting that pretty heavily at the branch level.
Terrific.
So nice. Okay. All right. Well, everyone, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to attend the session with us today. Anyone who attended the live session who would like to redeem for CEDIA CEU credits, please feel free to reach out to me. I can help you, point you to David Whitney over at CEDIA, and make sure that you get your 1/2 CEU credit. So the way that it works with CEDIA is 2 hours is 1 credit. So you'll get 1/2 credit for your 1 hour today. So if anyone has any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me. So Kurt, thank you again for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to close the webinar now.